The Champions League, Copa Libertadores, the World Cup. The world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing: teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. Select Quote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customised, affordable life insurance. They can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's home ground. Select Quote is one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, helping over 2 million customers find over $700 billion in coverage since 1985. Other life insurance brokers offer impersonal, one-size-fits-all policies that may cost you more and cover you less, while Select Quote's licensed insurance agents work for you to tailor a life insurance policy for your individual needs in as little as 15 minutes. And have you ever worried about getting coverage with pre-existing health conditions? Select Quote partners with carriers that provide policies for a variety of health conditions. High blood pressure, diabetes, done your ACL? No problem. Select Quote partners with carriers that can cover those conditions and loads of others. Or, if you don't have any major health issues, they work with carriers that can get you same-day coverage with no medical exam required. Get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/ranks. Go to selectquote.com/ranks today to get started. That's selectquote.com/ranks.
Get ahead of your 2025 goals at 50% off with Pluralsight's online technology courses. Learn from highly vetted industry tech experts on cloud, AI, data, security, and more than 7,000 courses, hands-on practice and assessments, plus personalized learning paths. Become a tech expert yourself by mastering these in-demand skills and score yourself a six-figure salary. Visit Pluralsight.com and get 50% off Pluralsight's individual annual plans until December 3rd.
It had to be you.
Dang, you're not supposed to sound that good at karaoke.
You've just only heard me sing all stuffed up with nasal polyps. But now I'm on this medicine and breathing better, so this is me with less congestion.
Dupixent, dupilumab, is an add-on prescription maintenance treatment for uncontrolled chronic rhinosinusitis with nasal polyps in adults and children 12 years and up. It can help shrink your nasal polyps so you can breathe better with less congestion. Plus, it's an alternative to surgery.
Oh, this is your song!
Wish I was singing after congested you.
Severe allergic reactions can occur. Get help right away for face, mouth, tongue, or throat swelling, wheezing, or trouble breathing. Tell your doctor right away if signs of inflamed blood vessels like rash, chest pain, worsening shortness of breath, tingling, or numbness in limbs. Tell your doctor of new or worsening eye problems like eye pain or vision changes, joint aches and pain, or a parasitic infection or asthma. Don't change or stop steroid, asthma, or other treatments without talking to your doctor.
Do more with less nasal polyps. Ask your doctor about Dupixent.
Learn more at Dupixent.com or call 1-844-DUPIXENT.
Building a business may feel like a big jump, but OnDeck Small Business Loans can help keep you afloat. With lines of credit up to $100,000 and term loans up to $250,000, OnDeck lets you choose the loan that's right for your business. As a top-rated online small business lender, OnDeck's team of loan advisors can help you find the right business loan to fit your needs. Visit OnDeck.com for more information. Depending on certain loan attributes, your business loan may be issued by OnDeck or Celtic Bank. OnDeck does not lend in North Dakota. All loans and amounts subject to lender approval.
This Thanksgiving, Target makes hosting easy with our lowest prices of the season. Like Good and Gather premium turkey for 79 cents a pound and quality green beans for only 55 cents. Save more on hosting. Happier holidays from Target. Restrictions apply.
Dougie!
Sam.
This weekend marks the first game in charge of Manchester United for Ruben Amorim. We'll get to see his plans, his processes and his thoughts. The big question is Marcus Rashford in them?
Gary Neville's questioned the professionalism of Marcus Rashford.
Oh, he smashed it in! What a penalty from Marcus Rashford!
Do we think Ruben Amorim can bring the best out of Marcus Rashford? Does Rashford have it inside him to go back to the player that we know he can be?
It's up to him. Stop acting like the world owes you a favour.
Slides in Marcus Rashford, and you know what that usually means?
The more I watch him, the more he gives me the He doesn't work hard for the team. He doesn't track back. He doesn't do the ugly stuff. He can show signs of world-class ability when he has got the ball. But with this new manager coming in, you might see something different.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of The Truth. I am your host, Sam Tighe. With me is my co-host, Dougie Critchley. Hello, Dougie.
Hello, Sam. How are you doing?
I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, good. Looking forward to the return of football. The second week of the international break, I always think drags a little bit more than the first. So very, very excited for the return of club football, I should say.
As I say, it's very disrespectful to all of the international teams that have had a whale of a time. We can get into those briefly in a moment. But before we do, hello to our producer, our voice of God, Jack Collins.
Hello, Sam. How you doing?
Yeah, man. Didn't you have a lovely little trip to Ireland, huh?
I did, yeah. I mean, I watched Ireland beat Finland, which is a rarity these days in that Ireland won a game. So that was good. Maybe undeserved slightly. It was a pretty even game. Finland hit the post twice. We had a penalty that Quiveen Keller has saved. Yep. It wasn't the most comfortable of victories, but it was a victory nonetheless. That meant Ireland weren't automatically relegated, so there's that.
A win is a win. Quiveen Kelleher is the greatest goalkeeper in all the lands. And when you bear that in mind, Jack, which was, do you think, the most impressive of the two feats? The Lions beating the Jags 52-6 or England beating Ireland 5-0?
Well, I mean, this Ireland team, I don't think you can take much credit from. It also took, a slightly dodgy penalty and a red card, and penalty not being given on Evan Ferguson when Mark Gay decided to actually play NFL. Actually, fair point. So, you take what you can, right? Take what you can.
Definitely the Lions is the more impressive. Beating the Jags, Dougie, 52-6 in the Big Cat Derby.
Huge. And in the Sam and Jack Derby, importantly, for anyone that doesn't know.
Yes. Oh, everyone knows that, don't worry. The Jaguars were horrible. The Lions were brilliant. And the good news is I am not jinxing my sports teams anymore. Fantastic. Right. We are out of the international break. We will not see another one until March. I know that's cause for celebration among some of you. Many of you. Dougie, for example. Although I like to believe that the truly cultured among us were celebrating San Marino's promotion from Nations League D on Sunday night. They scored 3 goals. Unbelievable stuff. But yes, the Premier League returns, and it's got a nice big twist in the tail because Ruben Amorim has arrived and he's the manager of Manchester United. As far as I'm concerned, every single United player, apart from about 3 of them, should now be on notice, under pressure to improve and to perform. But I think there's one specific player that we're very, very interested in and his prospects moving forward, and that is Marcus Rashford. But before we get stuck into that, Dougie, a quick one for you. How big is the task here for Amorim in general? Because as bad as they felt for about a year, they're actually 4 points off third. Like, what the hell?
I know, it's a very weird looking table, isn't it? But to go briefly back on the sort of overall looking of the task at hand, and it's a pretty massive one. I mean, since the start of last season, Man United have won 22 out of 49 league games. They've scored 69 goals in that time. They've conceded 70. They've taken 75 points in that time. Across a 38-game season, if you average that out, that's 58 points. That was enough to finish 8th last year, which is where they finished, incidentally. In the same period, so they've taken 75 points, City 114, Liverpool 110, Arsenal 108, Villa close to 90, Spurs and Chelsea 82, Newcastle 78. United are behind not only the traditional Big Six sides, but also Villa and Newcastle in that time. The good thing for Amorim is that compared to how bad things were 6 weeks ago or so, things have slightly picked up under Ruud van Nistelrooy. I say slightly. I mean, United have only lost one of their last 5 league games, which was that 2-1 defeat to West Ham, which was a controversial one given the late penalty given against Matthias de Ligt. They've beaten Brentford and Leicester in that time. They've drawn with Villa and Chelsea. So as you say, they are 13th in the league. It's still not nearly good enough, but they're only 4 points behind third place Chelsea. There's actually a smaller gap between them and 15th place Leicester than them and third place Chelsea, which is kind of nuts. And you look at their fixtures coming up. They've got Ipswich away, as we've talked about, on Sunday. They are 17th. They've only won 1 of their 11 games so far. They've then got Bodo Glimt at home in the Europa League. They're currently 15th in the Europa League, so they do need to start picking up some regular results in the Europa League too. And then it's Everton at home. That's the good news. But in terms of the bad news, they've got, I think it's 9 games in 30 days in December. They've got to play Arsenal, Forest, City, Spurs, Bournemouth and Newcastle in the month of December alone. So they're not in a bad position, but he really needs to hit the ground running because the rest of December looks quite challenging, to say the least.
Well, they definitely, things will look very different if they just win their next 3 games. Like, there's so much confidence you can take from that into that really tough period over the course of December. And while it may look tough for Manchester United in December, it's tough for everybody in December as well. Every single fan of every club is looking at that gauntlet of fixtures, just the quantity of them alone, let alone the quality, and going, oh, God, like, how are we going to get through this? This is going to be so difficult. So we'll see what happens. And the first 3, they've given him a nice ramp, haven't they? For sure. Ipswich, no disrespect, it's a lovely first fixture. And Van Nistelrooy has kind of bolted the wheels back on to a point. They beat Leicester 3-0 in his final act. And by scoring those 3 goals, they improved their total goals scored for the entire season in the Premier League by 25%. That's how bad it had been. So things can get a lot better very, very quickly. But we're going to talk about Rashford today because look, there's a lot of questions here. How does he fit? Will he fit? Can they get him back to form? What's happened? What went wrong? We'll dive into all of it. And to start with, I'm going to take us back to the summer of 2023. So not too far back, 18 months or so. Contract extension off the back of a really, really strong 2022-23 campaign. A campaign in which he scored his 100th goal for Manchester United, which is an incredible achievement, and a campaign in which he scored 30 goals overall. Now, looking back on that figure and doing my research, I honestly assumed that figure was generous and someone had included 7 pre-season goals against Barrow or Wrexham or something. But no, they were 30 legitimate goals, 17 in the league, 6 in the League Cup, 6 in Europa, and 1 in the FA Cup. I reel this off not to break old news to listeners. I reel this off because I'm just trying to remind myself of the bar that he hit and therefore the bar that we started to judge him by, because he signed a big contract off the back of that. Numbers can be difficult to find, but it's over 200 grand a week. It's big money for big player pressure. And since that point, he really has not lived up to it. But watching those 30 goals back, the only bad thing about it was that the highlights reel that I saw had that stupid Man United TV commentator on it going, "Go on, son," every time he went through on goal. If it wasn't for that, it'd be a perfect compilation. A lovely set of goals. Honestly, one-on-ones, headers, thwacking from outside the box, taking his players on, driving from his own half, taking on a player and lashing home a finish. There are a couple of goals in particular. One where he chopped past Thomas Partey and smashed it into the near post. And another against Betis, Jack. I don't know if you remember this one. He hit it with the top of his foot. It's like an arrow. It's absolutely insane. The goalkeeper was just like, well, I can't even react to that.
You're just trying to hurt me today, are you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, big time.
100%.
Big time.
Yes, I remember it.
Yeah.
Yes, it was an incredible goal. Yeah.
We were about an hour late recording because Jack made some administration errors, so I've decided to get in as many digs as possible. No, I'm just kidding. Look, all of this has disappeared. This is kind of where the point I want to get to. All of this has just disappeared. In the following season, he scored just 7 league goals. And so far this season, he has scored just 1. He doesn't hit the ball the same. He doesn't run with the same verve or the same speed, and he doesn't attack fullbacks in that same relentless way. So the starting point for this conversation is, what exactly has gone wrong since he signed that deal?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, first thing to point out that it's not really one of those drop-offs you can really attribute to injuries. You know, he's only actually missed 1 game since signing that contract at the end of 22-23 with injury. And in that time, 8 goals and 3 assists in 44 league games. To put that into perspective, that's as many goals as Chris Wood has scored in 11 league games this season alone. He was understandably overlooked for the Euros. He's now only been capped once by England in 2024, which was against Brazil in March. It doesn't feel like he's particularly close to the England squad at all. And what's worth pointing out is that although he went off like a rocket at Man United, you know, he scored 8 goals in his first 18 games for United and was slowly progressing. This isn't the first blip in terms of form that he's had. So his goal tallies have gone since his first ever season: 8, 11, 13, 13, 22, 21. So far, so good. Really nice progression, stabilising in the early 20s. But then just 5 in 21-22, then 30, then 8 last year, and currently 4 goals in 18 games in all competitions. So 23-24 was the 5th season out of the last 9 that he's failed to hit double figures in the league. So it's not like this is the first time that he struggled in front of goal, but where it feels different is that his body language and the sort of the raw ingredients that we're seeing from him don't suggest that the turnaround's coming particularly fast. And I think it's worth pointing out a few incidents last season. So he scored 2 goals in the first half of last season. In November, he went to a nightclub after the Manchester derby. He was dropped for 4 consecutive games in December. He then came back into a little bit of form in last season terms up until January, late January, then goes to Belfast to go on a night out with one of his friends. He was too ill to attend training the next day. And look, I don't really like hammering players for their own personal decisions, like they should be able to have lives. I'm not saying that he is a troublesome character off the pitch and whatsoever. But if you've been out on a night out the night before, don't say you're too ill to train the next day. Like, that's just not going to go down well with your manager.
Well, he probably just was too ill.
Maybe
you shouldn't be too ill.
But you should, just the timing of that, just don't do that. But either way, there are clearly things that have gone on off the pitch that do slightly mitigate circumstances. You know, his mother wrote an article in the Times referring to the fact that he'd been hit really hard by the death of a friend and a cousin in the last 18 months. He's talked about being an introverted character on a number of occasions. And for an introverted character, dealing with the level of fame that Marcus Rashford got to because of his amazing campaign during COVID and free school meals, etc., he became much more than a footballer. And he is probably one of the best known footballers in the UK, crossing ethnic, gender divides, societal divides, etc. He is just an incredibly well-known player. And I think he seems to have struggled a little bit with the weight of his fame because it has just snowballed. And, you know, players for Man United are amongst the best known players in the world, however they're performing. But you factor in the fact that he is just become this sort of societal hero, that adds a whole nother level. Going back to his numbers, though, this season, you know, he has still been backed. He's United's 6th most used player this term, but he's now just firing off 1.2 shots per game. That's the lowest of his career. That's the same as Joachim Andersen at Fulham and Orel Mangala. That is troubling.
Yep.
He's only getting 0.7 shots on target per game. That's the lowest of his career. That's between Adam Wharton and Morgan Rogers. I think Morgan Rogers is having a very good season, but he's not a left winger playing for Man United week in, week out. His 0.33 expected goals and assists per 90 is the lowest of his career. That's only 0.01 more than Mads Roerslev, who's a right wing back for Brentford. These are really troubling numbers. You can go into his chances created. He's created 11 chances this season. That's 5th in United squad behind Casemiro and Eriksen. There is nothing about his game right now that suggests that this is the player that we're used to see. And you know, I don't know whether that is the factors of his increased fame or, you know, close personal deaths of friends. You know, that is going to affect anyone. Or whether he just needs a change of scene, which I think we'll probably get onto throughout the course of this episode. But there is no doubt that he is struggling, and it's not just been a blip now. This has been quite a long-term malaise, Sam. I mean, what have you made of it? Do you think it's more technical, tactical? Do you think it's personal issues? We don't want to speculate too much if it is personal, but it's what do you put it down to?
There's a lot to go through there. Actually, there's probably 2 or 3 things to pick up. First of all, on the introverted point, I'll never fail to take an opportunity to mention that I spent an entire day with Marcus Rashford and went to his house. And he is a genuinely introverted person. Like, he's very, very nice, but he does not have that brash swagger that most footballers do tend to walk with. I met his girlfriend. He drove me from hotel football to his house. I spent the day with him. I interviewed him. And he does seem like a really quiet, family-oriented guy who just wants to sit on the sofa and watch a film. Like, is it like that's what he's been like? And so, I was reading this piece in The Athletic this week about the Mbappe situation with the French squad, and in it was a quote from Ibrahima Konate, who apparently tells Mbappe regularly. I don't think this needs to be said regularly, Ibu. He tells Mbappe regularly that he'd love to be as good as Mbappe, but he wouldn't want to have his life.
Yeah,
I was like, you don't need to say that more than once, mate. I tell him regularly, but these lives can be difficult to lead, for sure. And Rashford spent the best part of a year being attacked by UK politicians. You know, it's like, it was a stick to football jibe. all because he wanted to feed kids that were in need. And this stuff hurts. On the attitude stuff, look, it's very difficult to read into body language on the football pitch, but specifically when Man United played Villa earlier this season, he committed a foul and got a yellow, and then literally a minute later just tripped someone up and could easily have been sent off. Easily, and probably got a bit lucky that the fouls were in such quick succession. The lack of interest in the move that actually happened there, I was a bit shocked at how nonplussed he was about whether or not he was actually going to stay on the pitch. That was a little bit troubling, but try not to read too much into that because every player presents differently. But then with the stats that you present, I was looking at the drop-off. Rashford's XG per 90, expected goals per 90, in the season that he hit 30 goals, so 17 in the league. This is a Premier League stat. It was 0.48 XG per 90. It's very, very healthy. Bit of context, Cole Palmer this season running at 0.49, and Ollie Watkins last year when he scored 19 Premier League goals ran at 0.47. This is a very healthy number, and it usually leads to plenty of goal scoring chances and plenty of goals. Last season it dropped to 0.29 per 90, and this season he is at 0.11. You cannot expect Marcus Rashford to score 30 goals a season when he's literally running at about 20% in terms of shooting chances, shooting volume. So you reference shots per 90, and I'm talking about XG. They're linked, of course, but the reality is that he's not getting anywhere near as many chances to score goals. Some of that may be on him. He's not fashioning the chances for himself. Some of that clearly is on other players, clearly is on the manager, clearly is on the system. I'm going to go back to this 30-goal highlight reel I watched, and I'm going to list off a number of things that were present in that reel that I do not see on the pitch nowadays. First of all, Bruno lofting through balls like no tomorrow. That has died off a little bit. And his expected assists that season per 90, 0.45. This season, 0.31. So a 30% drop-off. It's pretty significant. Eriksen was probably at the peak of his Man United powers during this season, and you could see him playing some very clever passes and setting Rashford up. You don't see that anymore. Casemiro, I know we like to mock him these days, and we also like to suggest that, when he did have his really good season, it was mostly about key goals from set pieces and aerial stuff. He played some magnificent passes in this season. You could see them in the build-up to Rashford's goals. That's obviously gone. Next up is Luke Shaw. He was pinging the ball around like no tomorrow. Left and right, brilliant. Obviously, he's not even a footballer at this point. And the other thing is, he took a few penalties that year. He hasn't taken any this season. It can eat into your total. This is as much about other people and other players as it is anything else. And if we roughly agree that Manchester United have withered away over the last 18 months, and all of the players that I have just listed are either a shadow of themselves or just completely and utterly injured, with the possible exception of Bruno, although we all know he's a bit undercooked at the moment anyway, you have to say that this is not all to do with Rashford at all. This is the product of a broken system, which we have been very quick to bash, because Erik ten Hag drew a lot of ire for very good reason. And the more I dug into this, the more I came to the realisation that this is, at best, only 50% due to Rashford. Maybe even it's only 25% down to Rashford. And actually, there's a hell of a lot going on here under the hood that we need to be a bit more aware of. Clearly needs to be fed chances. Clearly, more than others, needs a functioning team around him. Has that been there? Absolutely not.
Yeah, absolutely not. I think the Luke Shaw one in particular is so interesting because for England and Man United, that relationship was so crucial to getting the best out of Marcus Rashford. And Marcus Rashford for so long prior to his drop-off with Man United was actually kind of performing better for England than he was for Man United in terms of consistency. And even, at the 2022 World Cup was pretty excellent there. And has just really struggled with the absence of Luke Shaw. The fullback behind him's changed. The composition of that midfield has changed. He's trying to work with strikers in Højlund and Xerxes this season that are learning their trade. Antony's not really delivering anything on the right wing. Sancho didn't work out. Mason Greenwood obviously left the club. The forward line, the composition of the midfield, it's all changed around him. But now you have a manager coming in Ruben Amorim who plays a very different system, Sam.
The Champions League, Copa Libertadores, the World Cup. The world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing: teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. Select Quote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. They can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's home ground. Select Quote is one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, helping over 2 million customers find over $700 billion in coverage since 1985. Other life insurance brokers offer impersonal, one-size-fits-all policies that may cost you more and cover you less, while Select Quote's licensed insurance agents work for you to tailor a life insurance policy for your individual needs in as little as 15 minutes. And have you ever worried about getting coverage with pre-existing health conditions? Select Quote partners with carriers that provide policies for a variety of health conditions. High blood pressure, diabetes, done your ACL? No problem. Select Quote partners with carriers that can cover those conditions and loads of others. Or, if you don't have any major health issues, they work with carriers that can get you same-day coverage with no medical exam required. Get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/ranks. Go to selectquote.com/ranks today to get started. That's selectquote.com/ranks.
Next.
Hey, it smells so good in here.
Yep, that'd be the coffee.
I know. It's just I've had nasal polyps for so long. Now I'm on this medicine and my congestion and breathing are much better.
Dupixent, dupilumab, is an add-on prescription maintenance treatment for uncontrolled chronic rhinosinusitis with nasal polyps in adults and children 12 years and up. It can help shrink your nasal polyps so you can breathe better with less congestion.
I'm pretty jazzed about it. Plus, I don't want another surgery, and now I might not need one.
So, what can I get you?
Oh, medium coffee, please.
Severe allergic reactions can occur. Get help right away for face, mouth, tongue, or throat swelling, wheezing, or trouble breathing. Tell your doctor right away if signs of inflamed blood vessels like rash, chest pain, worsening shortness of breath, tingling, or numbness in limbs. Tell your doctor of new or worsening eye problems like eye pain or vision changes, joint aches and pain, or a parasitic infection or asthma. Don't change or stop steroid, asthma, or other treatments without talking to your doctor.
Do more with less nasal polyps. Ask your doctor about Dupixent.
Learn more at Dupixent.com or call 1-844-DUPIXENT.
This time of year, a good hoodie is absolutely essential. But these days, it's tough to find one that will last through the season. That's why the American Giant Classic Full Zip Hoodie is made to last a lifetime, so you can count on it to bring you comfort and warmth year after year. Slate Magazine called it the greatest hoodie ever made, and from cotton to zipper, it's made right here in the USA. It's crafted with timeless style, heavyweight fleece, a double-lined hood, and reinforced elbow patches, which means this hoodie can withstand any outing or adventure. It'll be your new favorite hoodie, and you can depend on it for years to come. Plus, buying from American Giant means supporting local communities of farmers, manufacturers, and more. This season, snag the hoodie that will bring you comfort for life, the American Giant Classic Full Zip, and save 20% off your first order at american-giant.com when you use code CLASSIC24 at checkout. That's 20% off your first order at american-giant.com, code CLASSIC24.
At a public urinal, it just feels like you're standing there too long. What used to seem like a high-pressure hose filling a bucket, now it's more like a trickle. You notice a weaker flow, an urge to urinate more often. Sleep is interrupted by multiple trips to the bathroom, and it has steadily gotten worse. You didn't think about going to a doctor for it. They may call it enlarged prostate or BPH. I mean, no one talks about this. We're supposed to suck it up, right? That's what we do. But we know we need to do something, or life is gonna be different. But what can you do about enlarged prostate? The good news? There is a minimally invasive procedure covered by most insurance called the UroLift system. Men 45 and older go to helpbphnow.com to find a UroLift system trained doctor near you. Most common side effects are temporary and can include discomfort when urinating, urgency, inability to control the urge, pelvic pain, and some blood in the urine. Rare side effects, including bleeding and infection, may lead to a serious outcome and may require intervention. The UroLift system may be an alternative to medications or invasive surgery. Go to helpbphnow.com to learn more and find a UroLift system trained doctor near you.
Did you know that parents rank financial literacy as the #1 most difficult life skill to teach? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app for families. With Greenlight, you can set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Kids learn to earn, save, and spend wisely, and parents can rest easy knowing their kids are learning about money with guardrails in place. Sign up for Greenlight today at greenlight.com/podcast.
Yeah, and this is where I want to bring Jack in. He's been eerily quiet since the multiple jibes. So sorry, I didn't know you'd taken it to heart so much, but welcome back.
Thanks.
It's time to talk about Amorim. it's time to talk about how things might change for Marcus Rashford under his stewardship. So I think the starting point here is that you've watched more Sporting than pretty much anyone that's not Portuguese. So please set the stage for us. What can we expect from Amorim in terms of a shape, and what does he generally ask of his attackers?
So I think that this is an interesting one in that most people are expecting him to transfer this 3-4-3 or 3-4-2-1, if you will, over to Manchester United. Now, I think it's probable, but I don't necessarily think it's a given. I think it's probable because I think the squad quite suits it. But actually, if they didn't, I think that Amorim would find something else here. Because
so just to let you know, I saw a little training video snippet earlier today that Man United released, and the players were in a 3-4-3.
Good. Fantastic. I mean, look, one, I think it's a good thing for the Premier League, and I said this on the Amorim episode we put out on Ranks a couple of weeks ago, because there's a lot of managers doing not necessarily similar things, but I think using similar shapes in the Premier League at the moment, especially at the top level. And actually, things that disrupt that, I think, are a good thing, generally, that doing something different, because using a kind of knockoff version of what teams are doing better than you has not worked for Manchester United over the past couple of years under Erik ten Hag. And I think that actually changing that up and giving it a different system and a different shape might well work in their favour.
Well, it's the Conte effect, isn't it? When suddenly half the Premier League, more than half the Premier League, lined up in a back three.
Yeah.
Because Conte had just showed everyone. It's that kind of thing. That can really ruffle feathers, and it can change things up for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, just to talk about the three up top for a bit, then there has been variations on it, but mostly at Sporting we've seen them use a kind of number 9 who likes to run in behind, stretch and run the channels and look for that kind of really direct run, direct ball over the top to punish. We've seen Victor Gyökeres do it over the last couple of years, but it has been a variety of strikers, and I'm going to come and talk about this as well.
Yeah.
Well, Paulinho, but also André Sporar,
God.
Thiago Tomas did it for a little while as well. There's been a variety of different players who have kind of run those channels. Chamiti, who obviously had that ill-fated spell. He's still at Everton. But
it is an ill-fated spell.
An ill-fated spell at Everton Football Club. But he was, he looked really bright in the Amorim system as well. So the two behind, I think, is an interesting one, because one of them has basically been Pedro Gonçalves for the entire time that he has been there. Now, Pedro
also known
Gonçalves,
as knockoff Bruno.
Well, also known as Pot, which is a fun one. But he is basically Bruno light. Now, he's a little bit, his movement's slightly better, I think, than Bruno's, and he has been used at times in a deeper role. But his main role over the past 4 years or so has been one of these players behind the striker. The other one has been a more traditional kind of winger type. Marcus Edwards had that spot locked down for a long time. Now it's Trincãos, who has kind of won it of his own merit over the course of this season. He also likes to use wingers at points at wing back. So Giovanni Quender's done a really good job there. Nuno Santos, who has been sort of in that spot for a while now, very much a winger converted. Giovanni Cabral's used in that role for a little while. So I'm not completely convinced that everyone's like, it's going to be Dalot and Mazraoui on the wing. I'm not sold completely that there isn't going to be changes in those areas, because he does like to use those players to get forward.
To cut in here is that 9 times out of 10 Sporting are going to be playing a team in the Primera Liga that they're just going to dominate the ball. So you've got more license to use a winger as a wing back, because you're less worried about what happens at the other end.
100%, but he's often used 2, right? And I actually think that we might see 1. I think we might see 1 winger and 1 traditional fullback in those roles once everyone gets to grips with it. He might start out with 2 natural wing-backs, full-backs, but I think that will change as the season goes on. But that doesn't really apply to Marcus Rashford, because I don't think Marcus Rashford is going to be transformed into a wing-back, and I don't think anybody does.
No one wants to see that. If there's a winger on Man United's squad that might be a wing-back, it's Garnacho, right?
I think it's Anthony.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
On the right?
No, on the left, sure.
On the left. He often uses a left-footed player on the left. But actually, what Anthony does really well, and there aren't loads of things he does well, his work rate's exceptional.
Yeah.
And actually, what you need, Nuno Santos isn't that good a player. Let's be frank. He's not going to go and walk into loads of teams around Europe as a left winger. What he does is he works incredibly hard, and he does what he's told. And I've just got a funny feeling. This is complete conjecture, right? So take it with a pinch of salt.
Sure.
But Anthony is the player that I just wonder if they gets a new leaf of life as a wing-back. Maybe Garnacho too, but I don't necessarily know if Garnacho has the defensive kind of work rate to do it.
No, I think but he's very young, so the possibilities are still open for him to do whatever you might like. Whereas with Rashford, you're like, okay, I think we know that you are not going to become a wing back, and it would be ridiculous to suggest so. But let's take it back to the front three. So you've got a number 9. Presumably Højlund is top dog here. Channel running, off the shoulder, physical, poacher instinct. Sounds a lot like Højlund. Can sound a bit like Rashford in transition.
Yes.
But we know that that's not really where he likes to play, not that he may have a choice.
Yeah.
But Højlund feels like top dog here.
He does. And I think that he's the natural choice. But my big thing about this is that I think Rashford will fit best this system as a number 9.
Right.
Because his number 9 is not asked, Amorim, to get back and, defend and work really hard in those areas. He's asked to stay high so that they can punish teams in transition, to get over the top. We've seen Gyökeres have so much joy in a variety of things. In the Primera, sure, but also in the Champions League, obviously, and we saw that game against City. But that is what he's going to like to do. He's going to spring that trap. I think that Rashford, probably his best bet of getting in this side is in that space, because he's going to want a left footer on the right of the two, because that player is Trincao, Marcus Edwards. They're always someone that comes inside and creates from those kind of areas. Bruno is going to play on the other side, I think. He's going to play in that kind of left-hand role.
He should do. That exact area of the pitch, just between the 10 and the winger, just left of centre, is literally his zone.
Fine.
That is the Bruno Fernandes zone.
I think Ahmad probably has the best shout at actually ending up in that right-hand role, because he is the winger who most resembles what we've been seeing from Amorim's. Now look, again, all of this could change.
Yeah.
Amorim could completely flip the system, he could completely flip the script. But from what he's done before, my guess would be that Bruno occupies one of those roles and that Ahmad occupies the other. And that doesn't really leave a space. Garnacho is another one I'm quite worried about from United perspective. I don't see where he fits.
So the list of players that can conceivably play in these two supporting roles here is Rashford, Garnacho, Ahmad, Mason Mount, who in another life is perfect for this system too, slightly wide 10. Done it at Chelsea. Anthony. There's a possibly a space for Xerxes, and if Eriksen was 4 years younger, then we'd be talking about it. But let's not kid ourselves.
Xerxes
now.
being the Bruno rotator, if you will, if Mount continues to be injured, I think is a real possibility, because he's not going to play the 9 role in this system.
Doesn't seem like it. Doesn't seem like the build for the 9 in this system. I think he'd spend too much time coming backwards and compressing the space that these two attacking midfielders, two supporting players that we're talking about, actually need to use. Amorim will need the number 9 to get out of the way of Bruno Fernandes, to stretch, as you say.
And that's why I think it suits Rashford.
Xerxes a rough fit there, but he could, because he is a bit of a 10 masquerading as a striker anyway, he could feasibly settle down there. Ahmad was also the conclusion I arrived at in the Bruno +1 question, because it's going to be Bruno +1. Ironically, Sancho fits this system really well, and they chose Erik ten Hag over Sancho, only to fire Erik ten Hag, and I wonder what might have been there. But it sounds like Jack and I are kind of getting to the point where we want, process of elimination, Rashford rotates in as the 9. Dougie, how do you feel about that?
It's difficult, isn't it? I mean, when I was doing my research into the sort of role of the wing back in Amorim's system, it didn't feel perfect for Rashford, if I'm totally honest. I mean, the players that get through the most passing in this side are the 3 centre-backs and the 2 central midfielders. None of the wing-backs are in the top 7 for progressive passing. That's not a problem. That's not really Rashford's game either way. But they rank 2nd, 3rd, 4th in the Sporting CP squad for passes into the box. So it's much more of a probing role. It's holding width. It's stretching play. But it's very low in terms of crossing. So they rank 17th out of 18 teams in the Premier League as Sporting for crosses into the box, but 3rd for passes into the box. So, as I said, it's much more slow, intricate play around the corner, waiting for the right opportunity. And I just don't think that necessarily suits Rashford playing in a sort of wing-back role. What is quite interesting is that Sporting CP this season have completed 36 more dribbles as a team than anyone else. They've got the best completion rate in the league too. And they've had 10 successful take-ons that have led to a goal, which is double any other team. So he clearly does like someone that can change up the game and add a little bit of pace. And that could be Rashford. You know, Rashford, prime Rashford, 22, 23 Rashford, beating a man and firing in from angles was really what he was really delivering for the side. I'm kind of with you guys that I don't see him playing off the striker. But then every time I've seen Rashford as a 9 in the last few seasons, and there's been multiple people analysing this, he doesn't really have the nous he doesn't really make the runs on a regular basis that you'd want him to continually score goals in the 6-yard box. Like, I think he's a bit like Mbappe in that sense when he plays centrally as well. He's reluctant to do 9-esque things, and I just don't think that feels like a natural fit.
So there's plenty of goals out there, plenty of clips. You will not have to work very hard to find them, of Marcus Rashford on the counter, running through the centre of the pitch and finishing 1-on-1. But that is a bit of a red herring with regard to his number 9 capability, because in more settled play, back to goal, having to occupy 1 or 2 centre-backs, create space for others. Again, you're right. I've never seen that as his role. There have been a lot of players that have come through that have really railed against that kind of job. You know, Rashford hated it. Theo Walcott never really got on with it. Mbappe clearly is another one who is pretty out there as saying that he doesn't really like playing as the central striker, because nowadays we know where the space is, it's wide. We know where the superstars are, it's wide. Ronaldo played there, Bale played there, Vinicius plays there, Mbappe used to play there. The stars are the free scoring Mohamed Salah wide players, and the number 9 toils away in there creating space for others. To an extent, it's like what we talked about with Kai Havertz. It's a lot of dog work, and they don't want to do it. And Rashford doesn't really want to do it.
Sure, but I mean, if Amorim is trying to convince him that this is his role, surely all he has to do is roll the Gyökeres tape. Yeah. Right? Roll the tape and be like, oh, you want to play wide? The wide players don't do that in my system. The player that does that, the player that gets in behind, the player that fashions those opportunities is my number 9. Now, you can try and get another spot in this team if you want. It's going to be difficult because I don't think you really fit the profile, but if that's what you want, fine. But there is not a natural space for an out-and-out left winger, a la Kylian Mbappe, a la Marcus Rashford, in that kind of space, to fit within the Amorim system. Now, again, maybe he changes it all up. Maybe this goes to a natural 3-4-3. Maybe we see a real shift in the balance of what he does.
Maybe Bruno goes to the right and Rashford plays more traditional on the left.
Perhaps.
Although again, I don't.
But I'd be surprised.
I think I would be surprised. We are using an awful lot of projection and, let's face it, guesswork here, because Amorim has not taken charge of a game. We are taking his sporting template and we are applying it to Manchester United. We've been given some encouragement to do that by the training videos. It looks like United are at least training in that way.
The videos got me going.
The video,
they really did. There was an intensity. Then they put an epic backing track behind them. I'm fully in.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of Man United fans have kind of fallen in love with Amorim, and he hasn't even hasn't stood on the sideline.
Yeah,
I saw a video of him saying good morning and shaking the hand of the social media guy, and I was like, oh, I'm in.
Yeah. I think he just brings such a different energy to Erik ten Hag in so many ways that it's obviously always refreshing when you get that, but it doesn't hurt his case, does it? That he's clearly been successful. He's pretty cool. He's pretty young. He's got a nice beard.
Dresses well, good looking. These things don't matter, but they matter.
Yeah.
And I do think that in terms of a revamp, just the fact that he comes in looking stylish, he has that kind of warmth of personality, all of that matters in turning around just perceptions of where a football club is at right now. And as you said, right at the top, Dougie, which I think is really interesting, that gap between them and Chelsea being 4 points. Yes, there's a lot of bodies in between the two in the table, but it doesn't mean that is an impossible gap to breach. And actually, a couple of wins under your belt and the entire feeling of this season changes on a sixpence, and that could be the momentum that he needs just to get this thing going and get this fire started.
And what I think is interesting about the Rashford question is I feel like Rashford needs Amorim more than Amorim needs Rashford. Like, we've already touched on how many options he's got in those spaces behind the strikers. The fact that he's got Højlund, who profiles pretty similar to Gyökeres, obviously not that sort of level of player just yet. But Rashford kind of needs this move to really work out. He's had a really difficult, year and a half now. He's 27 years old. He's paid over £300,000 per week. And Man United are not going to want to carry on doing that in this era where they are cancelling Christmas parties and, refusing to let players travel to awards ceremonies on their own accounts. They are being much more prudent, and Rashford is a sellable asset. Interestingly, though, I don't think Rashford at the moment gets the kind of move that he wants to at all.
Well, I was thinking about this, and I think it's a new entry into football purgatory, something we used to talk about on BR Football Ranks quite a lot. And it was basically Gareth Bale is stuck because he won't take a wage reduction and no one will take him at that cost, and he won't drop to the level that he's now unfortunately at. And he can't get a game at Real Madrid. So he spent 2 or 3 years in what we basically labelled football purgatory. These players just got stuck. And Rashford is an Amorim failure away, and by that I mean he doesn't crack the team with Amorim, from probably entering football purgatory.
But at least Bale was 30, 31. Rashford's 27.
Of course, yeah, of course. It's much too early for this to happen. But how much patience can you have when, like, in the back of your mind, you can see that 30-goal reel from Rashford and you can see every type of goal. But then it's been ages. Like, it's been 18 months, and if it doesn't go well this season, it would have been 2.5 years. How much longer can you afford to wait? But who would take on that wage? And Rashford. So I think the stakes are really high for Rashford here. Like, if the career is going to continue at the rate and at the level and the trajectory that he wants it to, this needs to snap around really, really fast, which is what makes it so interesting, because you look down the list of players at Man United, Bruno is not in any danger. Garnacho has all the time in the world. He's 20 years of age. Kobbie Mainoo is 19. A lot of these players actually are looking quite young now. They've done quite a good job of making the squad look a lot younger. If it doesn't go well for Casemiro, who cares? Honestly, who cares? Doesn't matter. Harry Maguire, who cares? Whatever. But for Rashford, of all the players in this squad, it's just so critical that this happens, and it happens pretty quickly. But looking at it on paper, it's really hard to find the faith that will happen. And that's mostly down to the fact that the manager they've appointed, seemingly, doesn't typically run a role that Marcus Rashford would enjoy. Before we wrap up, let's just cast our eyes across the rest of the squad. I just named a couple of them. Dougie, are there any other players here that you actually think, apart from Bruno Fernandes, that are looking pretty good here? Like, we'll be really happy with this appointment and profile very, very well for this system.
Well, Manuel Ugarte, most obviously.
Yeah.
Having had that amazing year under him at Sporting CP. I think it's probably pretty good news for someone like Lisandro Martinez as well. I can see that left-sided centre-back role working for him. Matthias de Ligt has been really exposed at points during his time at Man United. He'll enjoy, hopefully, an improved structure around him. I think Mazraoui...
Stick him in the middle of a back three, and should be fine.
Should be. And Mazraoui, I think, started actually excellently.
Dude, he's been great.
He's been awesome. So, yeah, I think it's good news for him. Ahmad was in and out and was kind of used towards the end by Van Nistelrooy, and Van Nistelrooy was kind of making noises like, that he needed to see more from him. I thought Ahmad actually performed probably the best out of any of United's attackers at the start of this season as well. In terms of players that are under threat, though, there's already a lot of rumours around Joshua Zirkzee and a return to Serie A. There was even rumours this morning that they're going to look to bring in Victor Osimhen, and Joshua Zirkzee goes.
Yeah, trading with...
This feels very lazy, but there is speculation there for a reason that it hasn't necessarily clicked so far. I think he's really talented. I wouldn't get rid of him just yet, but he's under a bit of pressure. And then you look at those left wing backs. If it is going to be potentially Garnacho getting minutes there, maybe in a Rashford, which I struggled to see, to be honest, particularly on the ego front from Rashford. I think that left wing back role, I just don't think it's for him. But anyway, Malacia or Shaw, under huge threat. Malacia has only started 14 league games ever for Man United. He's missed 70 games since the start of last season.
Sounds like he's had a tough old time.
Yeah.
A really tough old time.
And I feel really sorry for him, but, football moves on and the game is moving past him at the moment. And then Shaw, there's only one season of the last 11 where he hasn't missed 10 games. And there was a huge, photo. Well, I say photo. I don't know why I said it was a huge photo. It's just a photo of him.
What were the dimensions of this photo, dude?
And it was him greeting Amorim when he arrived. And, it kind of made you even realise, oh, yeah, Luke Shaw. I kind of forget about his existence at points. But he's approaching 30. That injury record, really difficult. I kind of disagree with Jack. I think Anthony's close to going out the door as well. Eriksen towards the end of his time. Players like Lindelof, but you don't really care about them so much. But Shaw, Malacia, Joshua Zirkzee are the players that trouble me.
They need Lindelof for the time being, because until Lenny Yoro gets back to playing that right centre-back role, they feel a little bit light in that space. I do
Still
think
got Super Johnny Evans.
They're both, well, yeah, I think he's going to play in the middle, if anyway.
That's where Harry Maguire's playing. That's where Matthias de Ligt's playing.
Harry Maggs on the left. Harry Maggs the rotator on the left, and then
Maguire
Johnny
has
Evans
played the
in the
system
middle.
well for England, I will say.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, the other thing with those left-backs, and I think this is something of interest, is that United retain an option to bring back Alvaro Fernandez, who's some sometimes also known as Alvaro Carreras now, who's been absolutely scintillating for Benfica so far this season.
He was rubbish for Granada.
Yeah, but he has been absolutely brilliant.
Where was that when we were going down?
I don't know. Probably with the rest of your team, I imagine.
Yeah. It wasn't really his fault.
No, but he's been excellent, and they hold an option at 17 million to bring him back over the first year of his contract there. So something that obviously Amorim will be aware of him.
Oh, very aware.
And I think that he will definitely have an eye on that, especially if you can't get these two left-backs fit.
Yeah, true. And Luke Shaw, I mean, it's very difficult to have faith in his ability to stay fit to play wing-back. But, he's played a bit of left centre-back for Man United, and that left centre-back role now, obviously, Lissandro's name is all over it, and he's got the edge being able to run. He's in pole position. But Luke Shaw might work his way into a position where he can play a bit of left centre-back, and that would really suit him.
Yeah.
But just not in a way that they would totally rely on him, so maybe he won't break this time. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, Casemiro, probably not long for this team. Harry Maguire, probably in the end, not long for this team.
They'll lean on Casemiro, though, for the first 6 months or so, and then they'll bring in another
Do you think?
midfielder in the summer.
He played all right in Levin this week.
Yeah, I just think that he'll be fine in this two-man system alongside Ugarte, where they're basically not asked to do that much.
But don't you think it will be Kobe Mainoo and Ugarte?
Sure. I think that will be the starting pair.
Yeah.
But I think that they will lean on Casemiro's experience in there more than perhaps they would lean on like an Eriksen in this exact role, because it doesn't quite fit the same way. So I think they'll need him to just see out this season, and then he'll drift off into the sunset at the end of the year.
Drift off into the sunset.
Ride his horse over to Saudi Arabia.
Oh, Bet Man United can't wait for him to do that. They've already paid for the horse. Right, that's it from us on this week's episode. Ruben Amorim discussed, Manchester United discussed, Marcus Rashford examined, big time. And we watch with interest. Let's see how it goes. Big first couple of weeks, some really nice fixtures. Let's see if Rashford can hit the ground running. An entire Daily Mail article was made out of Rashford's Instagram reaction to a session with Ruben Amorim this week, in which he just wrote 3 words: top session today. That is one full article's worth of content. So, look, Rashford is starting off in a really good place. We'll see how it goes. Dougie, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Jack, thanks for all of your expert input.
Always a pleasure, Sam.
By far the most use you've been so far. Although you do produce the episode, and
apart from all the
matching it all together,
the N'Golo Kante of this podcast, just running shuttles in the middle.
Yeah, for sure. But thank you to the listeners as well for joining us, and we will see you next week.
The Champions League, Copa Libertadores, the World Cup. The world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing: teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. Select Quote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customised, affordable life insurance. They can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's home ground. Select Quote is one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, helping over 2 million customers find over $700 billion in coverage since 1985. Other life insurance brokers offer impersonal, one-size-fits-all policies that may cost you more and cover you less, while Select Quote's licensed insurance agents work for you to tailor a life insurance policy for your individual needs in as little as 15 minutes. And have you ever worried about getting coverage with pre-existing health conditions? Select Quote partners with carriers that provide policies for a variety of health conditions. High blood pressure, diabetes, done your ACL? No problem. Select Quote partners with carriers that can cover those conditions and loads of others. Or, if you don't have any major health issues, they work with carriers that can get you same-day coverage with no medical exam required. Get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/ranks. Go to selectquote.com/ranks today to get started. That's selectquote.com/ranks.
Next.
Hey, it smells so good in here.
Yep, that'd be the coffee.
I know. It's just I've had nasal polyps for so long. Now I'm on this medicine, and my congestion and breathing are much better.
Dupixent, dupilumab, is an add-on prescription maintenance treatment for uncontrolled chronic rhinosinusitis with nasal polyps in adults and children 12 years and up. It can help shrink your nasal polyps so you can breathe better with less congestion.
I'm pretty jazzed about it. Plus, I don't want another surgery, and now I might not need one.
So, what can I get you?
Oh, medium coffee, please.
Severe allergic reactions can occur. Get help right away for face, mouth, tongue, or throat swelling, wheezing, or trouble breathing. Tell your doctor right away if signs of inflamed blood vessels like rash, chest pain, worsening shortness of breath, tingling, or numbness in limbs. Tell your doctor of new or worsening eye problems like eye pain or vision changes, joint aches and pain, or a parasitic infection or asthma. Don't change or stop steroid, asthma, or other treatments without talking to your doctor.
Do more with less nasal polyps. Ask your doctor about Dupixent.
Learn more at Dupixent.com or call 1-844-DUPIXENT.
You've been prescribed medication for BPH or enlarged prostate. You don't like the idea of a daily medication for the rest of your life. If you have to take it forever, is it really worth it? But that's what the doctor ordered, and symptoms from BPH were negatively impacting your life. A weak flow, an urgent need to go, interrupted sleep. Now you feel stuck between medications that aren't really doing the trick and the idea of invasive surgery. There may be another option, a minimally invasive procedure covered by most insurance called the UroLift system. The UroLift system may provide up to 3 times the symptom relief as a common BPH medication, based on early data from a head-to-head study. Men 45 and over. Go to nobphmeds.com to learn more and find a UroLift system trained doctor near you. Most common side effects are temporary and can include discomfort when urinating, urgency, inability to control the urge, pelvic pain, and some blood in the urine. Rare side effects, including bleeding and infection, may lead to a serious outcome and may require intervention. The minimally invasive UroLift system. Go to nobphmeds.com.
Did you know adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't? From swimming lessons to piano classes, as parents, we invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But how much are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids essential skills like earning, saving, and investing, giving them the tools for financial confidence. This investment costs less than an after-school treat at Starbucks. Start prioritizing their financial education today with Greenlight. Invest in their future at greenlight.com/podcast.
Americans love using their credit cards, the most secure and hassle-free way to pay. But D.C. politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. This bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. Corporate megastores will make more money, and you pay the price. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com.
The Champions League, Copa Libertadores, the World Cup. The world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing: teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. Select Quote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. They can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's home ground. Select Quote is one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, helping over 2 million customers find over $700 billion in coverage since 1985. Other life insurance brokers offer impersonal, one-size-fits-all policies that may cost you more and cover you less, while Select Quote's licensed insurance agents work for you to tailor a life insurance policy for your individual needs in as little as 15 minutes. And have you ever worried about getting coverage with pre-existing health conditions? Select Quote partners with carriers that provide policies for a variety of health conditions. High blood pressure, diabetes, done your ACL? No problem. Select Quote partners with carriers that can cover those conditions and loads of others. Or, if you don't have any major health issues, they work with carriers that can get you same-day coverage with no medical exam required. Get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/ranks. Go to selectquote.com/ranks today to get started. That's selectquote.com/ranks.